Hello and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing a bit of an advanced listening practice, but we're also digging into a skill. We're looking at a huge element of communication in English that, well, has nothing to do with grammar, not really vocabulary either.
No, not at all.
We're talking about the part of speech that isn't sound. We're talking about silence, the hidden power of pauses.
It's such a fascinating topic, and it's really what separates a good speaker from a truly great one. You know, when you listen to someone who just captivates you, a storyteller, a great leader, so much of that magic is in the spaces between the words.
Right. It's not just them catching their breath.
No, absolutely not. These are intentional, strategic tools. They're what transform a speech from just a list of words into a real experience.
I think that's a great way to put it. Think about the last time a speaker really made you lean in, hold your breath a little. I bet they weren't rushing. They were controlling the room with silence. So for you listening, whether you're trying to get your fluency to that next level, or maybe you have to give presentations and want to sharpen your delivery, or even just, tell better stories to your friends, mastering the art of the pause is a game changer.
And that's our mission today. We want to give you a kind of shortcut to this skill. We're going deep into the what, the why, and most importantly, the how of pausing.
We want to give you some specific techniques you can use right away, not just for clarity, but to build suspense, to make your points land harder, and just to project that sense of calm control.
That thoughtfulness, yeah.
Okay, let's jump right in. Segment 1, defining the silent symphony of speech. I think we need to start with a really clear definition because, like you said, this is not just about awkward quiet.
Not at all. Intentionality is the key word. A pause, for our purposes, is a momentary, deliberate stop in the flow of speech. It's a chosen rest point.
A beat.
A beat, exactly. It's inserted strategically. That's what makes it different from someone who's just, lost their train of thought or is searching for a word.
You've called it mental punctuation before, which I love. And if we think of it that way, we can start to categorize these pauses, right? The length of the silence kind of dictates its job.
Yes, absolutely. We could break it down into, say, 3 main categories. The first and most common would be the short pause.
Okay, so these are the commas of speech.
That's the perfect analogy. They're these little tiny breaks, maybe less than half a second. They happen after a phrase or between items in a list. They're partly for breath, sure, but their main function is clarity and rhythm.
Without them, everything just becomes one long drone of words, a wall of sound.
Yeah, it's exhausting to listen to. If I say, you woke up, got dressed, made coffee, walked out the door, it's a blur. But if I add those little beats, she woke up, got dressed, made coffee, and walked out the door.
Each action becomes a distinct event in the listener's mind.
Exactly. They're like little guardrails for information. They prevent that immediate cognitive overload.
Okay, so from the comma, we move up in scale. Let's talk about the medium pauses. These are a bit more substantial.
Right. Now we're talking maybe a full second, maybe 2. These are your periods. Or, maybe a semicolon.
So this signals the end of a complete thought. A whole idea.
A whole idea, a complete argument, or even just a key point within a larger topic. The function here is really to allow for reflection. Is the speaker saying, okay, I've just given you a concept, take a second, let that sink in before we move on to the next thing.
It's like you're consciously managing the listener's digestion of the information.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm explaining something complex, maybe about, a new scientific theory, I have to pause between point A and point B. Otherwise, the 2 points just smash into each other and the listener gets lost.
They blur, and then you've lost them. And then you get to the most powerful tool in the arsenal, the long pause, or what I like to call the dramatic pause.
The showstoppers. We're talking 3 seconds or more of silence here.
Yeah, and this is where it becomes pure rhetoric. This isn't about structure anymore. It's about emotional impact.
It's a verbal spotlight.
That's it. It's designed to build tension, to create anticipation, or to just highlight something of incredible importance. It's a narrative cliffhanger in the middle of a sentence.
I'm thinking of a comedian telling a joke. They deliver the setup, and then they just wait.
Yes, that wait feels like an eternity, doesn't it? But that silence is what charges the air. It makes the punchline, when it finally comes, 10 times more effective. The pause is doing half the work.
This gets into the linguistic roots of all this. I mean, these pauses aren't just random choices. They're tied to how our brains actually process language.
Deeply. They're rooted in the basic need to breathe, of course, but also in what linguists call syntactic processing. We naturally pause at the end of a clause because that's a unit of meaning.
So it mirrors written punctuation for a reason.
For a very good reason.
Yeah.
But then it evolves. A beginner might pause because they're stuck, they're searching for a word. A master pauses where the comma or period should be, even if they're speaking completely off the cuff.
And for someone learning English, this is such a crucial leap to make. You have to move beyond just knowing the grammar rules and start feeling the cadence, the natural rhythm of the language.
Yes, that timing, that ability to hold a silence, it just screams confidence. It tells the listener that you are in complete control of the information.
And this is so different across cultures, isn't
They're
it?
hugely different. You mentioned some languages like Spanish or Italian, often thought of as faster paced.
Yeah, and in those languages, you often have a different syllable timing, a different flow. The expectation for continuous sound can be higher, and a long American-style dramatic pause might actually feel wrong, like the conversation is broken down.
Whereas in English, especially in a formal or presentation context, we rely so heavily on word order and clear breaks. That pause is not only accepted, it's expected as a tool for emphasis.
So if you're a learner coming from a language background that values that faster pace, you have to consciously train yourself to slow down and embrace the break.
You really do. It feels unnatural at first. But practicing those deliberate pauses is one of the fastest ways to sound less like you're translating in your head and more like a fluent, natural speaker.
It's an exercise in confidence, really.
It is. It's showing that you trust your audience enough to know they'll wait for what you have to say next.
That's a perfect transition. Let's move into segment 2, because I want to talk more about that psychological side, the psychological leverage of silence. Why is it that just constantly talking can actually undermine your message?
Well, the biggest reasons is all about the brain's processing limits. It's about cognitive overload.
Okay, break that down.
When you speak, you're essentially streaming data into someone's brain. And that brain, specifically the working memory, has a limited capacity. If you just send a continuous, unbroken stream of information, the processor gets overwhelmed.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
Exactly. Research shows that retention just plummets after about 10 or 15 seconds of nonstop information. Your listener's brain can't keep up, so it starts to tune out.
But a pause gives it a chance to catch up.
It's a reset button, a mental refresh. That brief silence lets the listener decode what you just said, sort of file it away, and get ready for the next piece of data. Without that, they're always one step behind you.
And I imagine this is even more critical when the topic is difficult or emotional.
Oh, absolutely. If you're talking about something complex, a pause after a key term gives the listener a second to think, okay, got it, and then re-engage. If you're telling a powerful story, rushing through the emotional peak it kills the impact.
You deny the audience the chance to feel it.
You do. You've told them what happened, but you haven't let them experience it.
Okay, so that's comprehension. What about the second point building, anticipation and emphasis?
This is where silence becomes a tool of suspense. Psychologically, when a pattern is broken, in this case the pattern of speech, our brains automatically flag it. We lean in, we think, what's happening? What comes next?
It creates a vacuum that the brain wants to fill.
Perfectly put. It's that calm before the storm. The anticipation makes whatever you say next land with so much more force. It becomes more memorable, more important, simply because of the silence that preceded it.
So if I have one key message in a whole presentation, the single most important takeaway.
You should put a great big pause right before you say it. You guarantee every single person is hanging on those words. The silence amplifies the sound.
And this all feeds into the idea of authority and emotion. We've all seen nervous speakers who fill every single gap with an or an What message is that sending?
It's sending a message of anxiety, of a lack of control. Those filler words are, they're like nervous static. They suggest the speaker is uncomfortable with their own thoughts, uncomfortable with the silence.
So it completely undermines their credibility.
It destroys it. Whereas a speaker who is comfortable with silence, who can pause, look you in the eye and just wait, that person projects absolute confidence, thoughtfulness, control.
It's what you called silence tolerance.
Yes. Having a high tolerance for silence signals that you are so sure of your message that you know the audience will wait for it. It's a massive power move in communication.
Let's bring this back to the language learner specifically, because the benefits here are huge.
They're enormous. For a non-native speaker, you're doing so much cognitive work in real time. You're searching for vocabulary, checking grammar, thinking about pronunciation.
It's exhausting.
It is. And pauses are your best friend. They are free mental workspace. A pause gives you that crucial second to find the right word or structure the next sentence, all without looking like you're struggling.
So instead of one long, stumbling sentence, you deliver 2 or 3 short, clean phrases.
Right. And to the listener, it doesn't sound like a struggle. It sounds like a deliberate, thoughtful cadence. It's a brilliant strategy.
And there's actual developmental science behind this, right? It's a skill we acquire.
Yes. If you look at how children speak, they often use these long, clunky pauses because they're literally stuck trying to build the sentence. But adults learn to use pauses strategically for rhetorical effect, to persuade, to engage, to emphasize.
So the goal is to shift from pausing because you have to pausing because you choose to.
That's the whole game right there, moving from necessity to strategy.
Well, when it comes to strategy, there is no better arena to see this in action than our next section. Segment 3, storytelling immersion and learning from the masters.
Yes. This is where pauses really, really shine. Because storytelling isn't just recounting events, it's crafting an experience. And you can't do that without silence.
So what are the specific jobs that pauses do in a narrative? We've touched on suspense.
Suspense is the big one. You place that long, dramatic pause right at the moment of peak tension, just before the big reveal. He slowly turned the handle of the door, pause, and saw. You have to give the listener's imagination time to run wild in that silence.
And that makes the reveal, whatever it is, hit so much harder.
Infinitely harder. Then there's the pause for emotion. If you describe a moment of profound sadness or joy and then just rush on, you've wasted it.
You have to give the listener a moment to connect with that feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A pause after an emotional line is an invitation for empathy. It's you saying, feel this with me.
There's also the pause for what you call reflection.
If you've just described a really vivid scene, the sights, the sounds, the smells of a place, a short pause lets all that sensory detail form a complete picture in the listener's mind.
You're letting them build the world.
You're co-creating it with them. And finally, there's pacing. You can control the entire rhythm of the story with your pauses. Short, punchy pauses can speed up an action sequence.
He ran, jumped the fence, kept going.
Right. But a long, thoughtful pause can slow everything down for a moment of introspection. He knew he had to make a choice. Long pause. But what was the right one?
For someone listening, especially a learner, putting this all together, the idea of story component, then a pause, then the takeaway, that seems like a really powerful and simple structure to practice.
It's a fantastic framework. It immediately makes you sound more organized and intentional. It's the antidote to nervous rambling.
To really see this in action, we have to look at the greats. Let's start with maybe the most famous speech in modern history, Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream."
Oh, an absolute masterclass. And the most interesting part for our topic is that famous moment when he actually went off script.
Right. He was giving a prepared, more political speech, and the gospel singer Mahalia Jackson called out from the crowd.
Tell him about the dream, Martin.
And what did he do? He paused. He literally pushed his notes aside. That silence was the pivot point. It was the transition from a good speech to an immortal one.
It was. And then look at the structure of the "I have a dream" refrain itself. It's all about repetition and the pause. He delivers a vision. I have a dream that one day. And then he waits.
And in that 2-second silence, you can hear the crowd roar. He's letting them absorb the image, to feel it, to agree with it.
He's building energy. The pause isn't empty space. It's filled with the reaction of 250,000 people. Each pause makes the next "I have a dream" even more powerful. It's a masterclass in communal rhetorical buildup.
Now, let's jump to a completely different style, but just as effective. Steve Jobs, at his Stanford commencement address in 2005.
A master of minimalism, in design and in speech. He used pauses as structural markers.
The whole speech is 3 stories, right? And he signals the shift between them so clearly.
So clearly. He says the first story is about connecting the dots. And then silence.
Yeah.
A good, clean 3-second pause. That silence is like a chapter break in a book. It tells the audience, okay, new section, reset your brains.
It's incredibly effective. But the most powerful pause in that whole speech, for me, is when he talks about his cancer diagnosis.
Yes. He delivers that incredibly heavy line. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life.
And then he just stops, and the silence that follows is so heavy.
It's profound. He doesn't rush to the lesson. He lets the weight of that idea, using your own mortality as a focusing tool land with its full, terrifying gravity. That pause allows every single person to have a flash of their own mortality, which makes his next point feel incredibly urgent and personal.
If he just kept talking, it would have been a good line. The pause made it an unforgettable life lesson.
It did. And you see this skill everywhere today. I mean, look at the best TED Talks.
Oh, they're the modern masters of the pause. Someone like Brene Brown talking about vulnerability. She'll share something deeply personal and then just wait.
And that wait is crucial. It's the space where the audience connects emotionally. Or Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who uses these tiny, perfect pauses to emphasize a key word. She'll say something like, "The problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, pause, but that they are incomplete."
But that little beat just puts a spotlight on the word incomplete. It makes you really think about it.
And it guides your focus.
Yeah.
It's like she's taking a verbal highlighter to her own script.
It really all comes back to that Mark Twain quote, doesn't it? No word was ever as effective as a rightly timed pause.
He knew. For anyone listening, I can't recommend this enough. Go watch these speeches, but don't just listen to the words. Watch for the silence. See where they put it and ask yourself why. It's an incredible education.
Okay, that's the theory, that's the analysis. Now let's make this real. Segment 4, practical mastery, pitfalls, and practice drills. How does somebody listening right now start doing this today?
Right, let's get into the actionable stuff. First, let's talk about how to calibrate the different types of pauses. For the dramatic pause, the big one, you need to be consistent. A great technique is to silently count in your head.
Like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
Exactly. It feels a bit silly at first, but it stops your pause from being a random length. It makes it a deliberate 2-second choice. So you say, and the secret ingredient was 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, simply time.
I like that. Okay, what about the reflective pause, the one after an emotional point?
With that one, the key is to pair it with your body language. You deliver the emotional line, and then you hold the silence while maintaining eye contact with your audience.
Ah, so you're connecting with them in the silence. You're not looking away or looking down.
Never. Looking away makes the pause look weak, like you're lost. Maintaining eye contact makes it look powerful, like you're sharing a moment.
Okay, then the transitional pause, the one for structure.
That one just needs to be clean and clear. It's functional. You announce the transition, so that covers the history. Now let's turn to the future. And you take a solid 1 to 2 second beat before you start the next sentence. It's like a paragraph break for the ears.
And finally, the emphasis pause. This is the one that isolates a single word.
Yeah, and for this you use 2 tiny pauses, like bookends around the word. So instead of, "it was impossible," you say, "it was," pause. Impossible, pause. It just makes that word pop.
These are great, but they all rely on avoiding the pitfalls. And the number one pitfall has to be
The filler trap. The ums and ahs and likes. They are the absolute enemy of authority.
so what's the solution? How do you stop doing it?
You have to train your silence tolerance. The moment you feel an coming, you have to force yourself to just be quiet instead. Close your mouth and say nothing. It's a mental muscle you have to build.
Start with just a 1-second silence where you would have said,
Precisely. Another big pitfall is inconsistent timing. Just pausing randomly all over the place, that just confuses people.
So the solution there is to be intentional. When you're practicing, literally write your pauses into your notes. Write twos pause or reflective pause.
Make it a conscious choice, not a random tick. And we should also mention over-dramatizing.
Right. If every pause is a 5-second dramatic moment, your audience is going to get bored very quickly.
You have to vary it. Most of your pauses should be the short and medium ones, the commas and periods. Save the big dramatic ones for the moments that truly deserve them.
Okay, let's give people some concrete drills they can do.
Perfect. First drill, the mirror monologue. Tell a short, personal story to yourself in a mirror. But here's the rule. You must include 1 long, dramatic pause and at least 3 shorter, reflective pauses.
And you have to record yourself doing it.
You have to.
Yeah.
And watch it back. Pay attention to what your face and your body are doing during the silences. Are you confident or are you fidgeting?
Good one. Next up.
The TED-inspired mimicry drill. Go watch a speaker you admire. Transcribe their first few minutes and mark every single pause they make. Then try to tell one of your own stories using their exact rhythm and pause pattern.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're borrowing their cadence to feel what it's like?
You're internalizing it. It shifts your focus from just the words to the music of the speech.
How about for practicing on your feet?
The improvisation game. Get a friend to give you a random 2-word prompt, like blue elephant or forgotten key.
Yeah.
Your job is to tell a 1-minute story about it. The catch is you have to use at least 2 pauses that are 2 seconds or longer.
That forces you to use silence as a thinking tool instead of filling the space with
Exactly. And for the really dedicated, my advanced tip is to use a speech analysis app. There are tools that will actually track your talk-to-silence ratio and count your filler words. The data doesn't lie.
That's a great way to get objective feedback. The goal with all of this is consistency, right? Just 5 minutes of practice a day.
That's all it takes. And soon, it stops feeling like an exercise and just becomes how you speak.
So we've gone on quite a journey here. We've defined the silent symphony, we've looked at the psychology, we've learned from the masters, and now we have some real practical drills.
I think the biggest takeaway, I hope, is that pauses are not empty spaces. They're not voids. They are active, powerful tools for connection and for clarity. They're what turns a monologue into a shared experience.
So as you go through your week, here's our challenge to you. Don't be afraid of a quiet. Try to embrace it. In your next meeting, in your next story, consciously insert a pause. Let your ideas breathe. Let your message land. See what happens when you give your words the space they deserve.
And a final thought to leave you with. Mastering silence isn't just about sounding better. It's a reflection of how you think. What does it say about you, about your confidence and your thoughtfulness, when you can command a room not just with your words, but with your strategic, powerful silence?
A great question to ponder. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the silent art of communication.
And if you found these insights valuable, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.